Got some students coming in now. I think we're just waiting on a few more. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenyatta Corley, and welcome to Transition Talks. Before we dive into the conversation, I'm going to introduce myself, and then we're going to go over what this session will be about, introduce our panel of student leaders, and go over some quick housekeeping items. So like I said, my name is Kenyatta Corley. I'm a coordinator in the Office of Transition Programs, and I also advise the Seahawk Link program. Seahawk Links are peer mentors who assist incoming first-year students in their transition into college life. They host events, attend University 101 classes that help students make connections, and they even hold one-on-one meetings with students to help them navigate any issues that might come up as students embark on their college journey. So college is a time to become who you want to be in life. It's an opportunity to identify your personal values and how they will inform your choices in the future. In this transition talk, Who Will You Be?, we want to challenge you to think about who you want to be as you start your college journey. So I'm joined today by some of our student leaders from our office. Each of them are going to introduce themselves by giving their name, their year, their major, and which student organizations they're affiliated with. We'll start with Kaylee Price.
Hi, so my name is Kaylee Price. My pronouns are she or her. I am an upcoming senior at UNCW, and my major is public health, and I'm concentrating in gerontology, and I am affiliated with the Seahawk Capellas and the Seahawk Links.
All right, Taylor, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Taylor. This next semester I'll be starting my senior year, majoring in biology with minors in clinical research and chemistry on the pre-med track. I'm the treasurer in the American Medical Student Association, and I'm on the Link Leadership Council with Kaylee, so I get to work with her and Kenyatta as well.
That's awesome. I like working with you too. Yanni, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Yanni Shaw. I'm going to be a sophomore. I am majoring in biology with a minor in neuroscience, and I'm also an orientation leader this year and an RA.
And last but certainly not least, we got Zaylin. Go ahead, Zaylin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zaylin Barnes. I am a junior from Selma, North Carolina, and I'm majoring in business administration with concentrations in supply chain management and management information systems. I am currently involved with UNC Weekends as an event coordinator.
That's awesome. Thank you all for those rousing introductions. It's good to know that our students are involved in other things on campus. So next we're gonna hop into some housekeeping items. You should be able to see these on your screen now. We're screen sharing them. So the first thing we want you to remember is for this, you won't be able to use your mic, but if you do try to make sure that it's muted. We're also going to ask that any questions that you have, you use the Q&A feature. If you hover your mouse down to the bottom of your screen, you should see Q&A. That's where we want you to ask your questions, as any questions that are asked in the chat might get lost. Also, we want to ask that you limit all of your distractions, any additional distractions that you have. We really want you to engage and focus on what our student leaders are sharing with you, because this information might help you once you arrive on campus. The next housekeeping item that we want to cover is our Seahawk Respect Compact. So in the pursuit of excellence, UNC Wilmington actively fosters, encourages, and promotes inclusiveness, mutual respect, acceptance, and open-mindedness among students, faculty, staff, and the broader community. We affirm the dignity of all persons. We promote the right of every person to participate in the free exchange of thoughts and opinions within a climate of civility and mutual respect. We strive for openness and mutual understanding to learn from differences in people, ideas, and opinions. We foster an environment of respect for each individual, even where differences exist, by eliminating prejudice and discrimination through education and interaction with others. Therefore, we expect members of the campus community to honor these principles as fundamental to our ongoing efforts to increase access to and inclusion in a community that nurtures learning and growth for all of our Seahawks. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the conversation. We'll start with some planned questions to ask current student leaders to share about their experience. Remember to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask questions, and our staff will either respond to you directly or I'll ask the panel to answer your questions live. So let's get on to this first question. I want to start with Zaylin. Before you started college, what did you think college would be like?
Before starting college, I had this idea that college would be, the academics would be so rigorous that that's all I could devote my time to. I was kind of worried I wouldn't even be able to get involved as much as I would like to, because I felt my academics would just take over all that, and there's so many more distractions. But yeah, I didn't really think I'd be able to get involved as much due to just other obligations.
Where did you get those ideas
kind of
from?
saw it as like, probably from just in high school, our school system, teachers always used to say, like, you know, college is going to be that rigorous, like you're going to have time for only so much, you know, like it's just like that's what you got to devote yourself to. I mean, and you do, but you know, once getting on campus, getting to college, I noticed like it's not so much that like the coursework is rigorous, but it's more so a matter of like time management, and just there's so many more distractions. Doesn't mean that those are bad. Like you have many opportunities to get involved. It's just like you're doing your own thing more so, and being more accountable for all your responsibilities more so in high school, because in high school you kind of had someone to kind of be there to remind you, to let you know what you needed to do. Whereas college is kind of, you are an adult and you have to take more responsibility and initiative. But that's where I would say I got the ideas from high school, perhaps, and just growing up. Yeah.
And Taylor, before you started college, what did you think college would be like?
Well, I had a really similar idea to what Zaylin just said. My high school wasn't really the best, to put it nicely, so I never really learned how to study or anything because it wasn't necessary. nothing was ever really that difficult. And like Zaylen, all my teachers would always say college was going to be a lot harder, and I was really going to have to learn things. So that was the biggest thing I was expecting. It's just really hard coursework, and it is a lot, like Zaylen said, but that was the biggest thing for me, learning time management. And there's so many resources on campus to help you with that, and to learn study skills and stuff like that. So, and after using some of those, it became a lot easier. And one thing I never really thought about was getting involved on campus. I thought it was either going to be like the stereotypical party lifestyle or just in the library studying. And there's a lot of in-between stuff that I never really thought about. But once I got the time management down, it became a lot easier to focus on other things and still handle my coursework.
All right, Yanni, what did you think college would be like?
To be honest, I went to a small private school, and so, going this transition to like a bigger public school was a lot for me. It kind of felt like I was on like a different planet in a way. But it's like when I got there, I felt kind of overwhelmed, and I felt like I was going to get lost in the crowd. Like it would be harder for me to stand out. And so it was really intimidating. Like the thought of college was just intimidating. And like Zaylin and Taylor said, like it's you're independent there. It's your own responsibilities that you have to take care of in time management. And that was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be an adult. But it's like when I got there, I saw that, it wasn't really that bad. It's just really time management and like what you decide to do with your time. So.
All right, Kaylee.
Yeah, so going into college, I wasn't really sure what to expect because I had never really left home before. It was 3.5 hours away from home, so I was really nervous to be by myself and not really have anyone because I didn't have any friends going to Wilmington, and so I was pretty much on my own. So I was pretty intimidated by the thought of college, and my thought of college, honestly, was that it would be a lot kind of like Pitch Perfect, which is kind of funny to say, but in the movie you see all of these people in the quad, and there's so many people, and there's a lot going on, and in a way that is kind of how it is, because there's always something going on in campus. There's always someone doing their own thing, which is pretty awesome. But I was really nervous about academics, like they said, because they always said in high school, if you think this is hard, wait till you get to college. And they really, really put that in your brain that it was going to be so difficult and only academics. But luckily, I noticed that it wasn't as difficult as they said. It was actually better because I could, immerse myself into classes that I actually wanted to take and that I was interested in. So, yeah.
And at the end of your first semester, was your idea of college the same or different?
It was definitely different. I had this whole idea, like Taylor said, that it was going to be a bunch of partying, and everyone was going to want to be partying. And, that's also why I was intimidated, because that wasn't really my thing. So I was scared that I wasn't going to make any friends. But luckily, that's not what everybody there is about sometimes. And it ended up, I found some really good friends, and I became really comfortable where I was and really comfortable in being independent with myself and being on my own. And I ended up just loving the campus so much. So it ended up better as I thought.
Taylor, was the end of your semester at the end, was it the same or different from what you thought it would be like when you first got to UNCW?
It was totally different. After the first couple of weeks, like understanding the dynamics of college life and the studying and the schoolwork that came along with it, it just kind of became a routine, so that wasn't difficult. And by the end of my first semester and overall the first year, I was involved in organizations, met a lot of new people, and it wasn't like a totally new experience. It was like I belonged there. So it was definitely different than what I was expecting, but in a really good way.
What about you, Yanni? At the end of your first semester, was your idea of college different?
Yeah, it was really different. I found a community while I was there. So just being with those people really helped me like find my place while in college. And at first like it was a little tough, but luckily I had really good roommates and we're literally best of friends. So it was nice having that friendship with them to get me through it. So
Zaylin, was your idea different? Or were you right all along?
Definitely. I'm usually right, but actually in this case, Just kidding. In this case, my first semester, I did have a different view on college because I was able to, like so much happened. Like I was able to do so much more than what I thought I was able to. I was able to like meet new friends, genuine people that I could like connections, people I could connect with well. I was able to get involved. I got involved with my residence hall association on campus, and I became like a leader within simply my dorm. And so I was able to like help put on programs, events, while also still maintaining like my grades and doing well, doing what I need to do in that area. And I got so involved, I was like, wow, I actually can make time to do things that I enjoy. It's not that bad. So much so, and I grew to love the campus so much that I wanted to become the orientation leader after that. So just become like a kind of a representative, like that leader on campus, and just be actively involved, just like how I was in high school. So I really realized like, it's manageable. Things can get stressful sometimes, but it's manageable. So, like, you can be involved and you can immerse yourself in things that you genuinely want to be and like take an interest in, as well as like manage your academic responsibilities too.
And so I want to ask a question from one of the students that is joining us today, Avery. And Avery asked, is it a good idea to completely reinvent yourself, like name or everything? Taylor, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I was about to say, I'll jump onto that one. I think if it makes you happier, and that's like the real you it is, because if you're like not yourself, you're not going to be happy. Like I know I went to not a really small, but I went to a small high school where it was everybody kind of acted the same way, and that's not really how I wanted to be, but because I went there and it was just easier to go along with it at the time. Like I wish I had been different, but I wasn't. I dressed the same way as a lot of people. I acted the same way. And as soon as I got to college, I was like, I'm meeting all new people. I don't know anybody from my hometown here. I just want to be how I want to be, and this way I make friends who like me for who I really am, not that I'm acting the same way as them. So I didn't change my name or anything, but like whenever I go home, people see how I act and dress and just behave now, and everybody talks about how different I am, but I'm a lot happier now because I'm actually me instead of just like acting like everybody else to like fit in. So I think as long as you're happy.
You look like you want to join in. I'm sorry, Taylor, were you finished?
Yeah, no, I'm
Kaylee, you look like you want to hop in on that one.
Oh yeah, well that was a big thing for me that I was questioning when I was going into college, because kind of like Taylor, I had a really small high school, so everyone knew who I was and everyone knew everything about me. So I was thinking like, would it just be easier to just start over, try to be a different person, especially because like I said, I wasn't really into the party scene, but I was like, well, I'm in college now and like maybe I need to fit in better. But luckily it just ended up being that, it's definitely better to just be who you are. And if that means reinventing yourself to be the person you actually are, then I say go for it. But it's very important to stay true to yourself and find people that, like you for you, because the friends that you meet in college are most likely going to be your lifelong friends. And so it's important to be yourself.
Kaylee, what does it mean to be yourself? How do you define that?
Well, I just define that as not trying to be someone you're not trying to go to events or do things with your friends that you're not really a fan of or you're not really comfortable with just because you want them to like you. Because when you do that, you're kind of straying away from who you are personally, and you'll end up losing yourself instead of finding yourself. And college is all about trying to find yourself and trying to find out what you want to do in the future, and it's very life-changing. So kind of staying true to yourself is just making sure that in whatever you do and in whatever you decide to do, it's something you really want to do and no one else's opinions are involved, and it's just what you're thinking.
Yanni, what do you feel about completely reinventing yourself when you get to college? Is that a good idea?
I wouldn't say to completely reinvent yourself, but you should step out of your comfort zone to try things that you haven't tried before. So I think that's good in that aspect, but you don't want to compromise your values. Like if you have set values for yourself that you really believe in and you want to stick with them, that's great. Like don't sell yourself short for anything else. But if you say you've never been in a musical before and you want to try that out, yeah, go ahead. Like new experiences, like you either like it or you don't. But if you don't want to go partying because of what happens there, then that's fine. You don't have to go partying. So I think it's just trying new experiences and trying to like navigate yourself through college is really good, but just try to make sure that you stay true to who you are deep down.
Zaylin, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I mean, other than just, I totally agree with Yanni. Like, it's definitely a great thing to want to try new things, because you may find an interest in college from a class or a club that you never thought you might have. And so, it's definitely, that's one way how you, I guess, reinvent yourself. Well, or even how I like to put it, find yourself. Because like I said, in college, you're around a diverse group of students. There's just so much, things are so different. You're able to kind of just see and look and peruse, like, and ask yourself, what do I will take an interest in? And what type of person do I want to be? And so I feel like having that honest talk, like I said, if you want, like I said, having a reflection of yourself, like what your values are, and like, are you open to like trying new things, like things that interest you? I mean, that's just really important. So in terms of having to reinvent yourself, that's more of a kind of, how do you feel about that? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what are your interests? What are your values? You're just doing that reflection piece that determines that.
I think that kind of segues us into my next question that I have for you all, which is, did you think at all about what others might think of you? And we'll start with Taylor.
Yeah, I definitely did. Like I said, I was kind of like being me for the first time, and I never really done that before. And meeting all new people, not really knowing anybody from my hometown, meant I was gonna have to make all new friends. So it was always in the back of my mind, like, how was I acting? Are people gonna like how I am? But most people are on UNCW's campus are super nice, and it's not like high school where like appearances and how you act matter as much. Like everybody's way more mature in college, and just kind of likes you for you. So it's nice. And after the first week or two, that all kind of went away for the most part. And especially the more you're involved, you kind of meet people who you know are going to like you for who you are. So everything just becomes a lot easier the longer you're on campus and the more you get out there and find out who you are.
Yanni, did you think at all about what others might think of you once you got to UNCW?
I definitely did. Like coming here, I was just worried, like, are people gonna think I'm weird, or should I act a certain way with different groups? Because in high school, like you had different groups you hung out with. Well, I know I did. Maybe other people did, but anyway, you had like different groups, and I was like, I acted one way with one group and another with another, and it was just like so hard to just like figure out like which way I'm supposed to act. So then getting to college, I'm like, oh, there's gonna be a lot more groups I'm gonna have to do that with. But then after a while, I was just like, that's not who I am. I'm like taking bits and pieces of myself and giving them to different groups and not letting them see me as a whole. So at that point, I was like, well, if you don't like me for who I am, sucks for you. So I was just, after a while, I was just like, I like this version of myself, the true version of myself. So that's the one that I kind of, showed people. And also like, that's the person I wanted my teachers to see. I didn't want them to see like a one side of myself or anything like that. Like I wanted them to see like who Yanni was. So I found that very important to me.
Kaylee, did you think at all about what others might think of you?
I definitely did. That was something I always struggled with in high school, was worrying about the way people thought of me and not doing certain things because I didn't want to embarrass myself or not be myself. And once I got to college, I kind of just threw that all away and was like, honestly, like, this is where I'm going to make friends that actually like me for me. So I I tried not to worry about it as much. And when you are walking on campus, you'll see, I mean, everyone feels that way. People go to class in pajamas. People will, walk around singing with the radio on them, and no one even thinks about it. Like, no one even looks twice at anybody walking around campus. It doesn't even matter what they're doing or what they're wearing. So that made it a lot easier, too, to not even really worry about what people thought of me.
And we have a question that just came in. Are freshmen bullied in college? Zaylin, if you want to answer that one for us.
Me personally, I never had worried about that. Like, that never happened to me. I never had an issue where I was called out for being a freshman, namely because one, there's so many freshmen. So it's kind of like, what are upperclassmen going to go do? Like, and you don't know who's a freshman, who's a junior, sophomore. So like, what are you going to go do? Ask her like, are you a freshman? Oh, I'm going to bully you. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's not to say that it doesn't happen, but personally, if you ever do encounter, if you encounter an issue where, you're harassment or such, the campus has resources to handle that type of thing. But me personally, I just have never really had that experience. So, I mean, because you also got to think, we are kind of adults, like everyone up like 18, like you're a legal adult, the bullying thing is kind of just, at least in my experience, as you get older, people are kind of more focused on where they're headed in life and what they're doing. But more so, like I said, it's not to say that harassment, things like that do happen, but as mentioned before, if it were to happen, and we hope it doesn't, to any incoming student, there are campus resources that kind of like resolve those issues.
Yanni, did you want to weigh in on that? You had something to say.
Yeah, so I was a freshman last year, and to be honest, I really didn't feel like anyone belittled me, because what I've noticed that the classes, they are very mixed. It's not like high school where you have some classes that are just freshmen, sophomore, yada, yada, yada. Like, all of them are mixed with different grades and people with different ages. And I mean, who's just going to sit there and be like, oh, I think that's a senior. I think that's a freshman. Like, no one does that. Like, we're just focused on doing our work, So I really don't feel like I've been through a situation where I was being looked down upon because I'm a freshman. And like Zaylin was saying, not to say that it doesn't happen. If you feel like something is something like that is happening towards you, then we do have resources to help you from. But me personally, I haven't had an experience like that.
What about you, Kaylee?
Yeah, no, it was funny because I sat next to somebody in one of my classes for a whole entire semester, and I had no clue what year they were. And I was a freshman, and I found out at the end, that they were a senior, and we were both like, oh, that's crazy, but we didn't even notice. And sometimes like me and my friends would sit there and just think like, I have no clue. Like, when walking down Chancellor's and being in class, I have no clue how old anybody is. You cannot tell. I do know that like some people are gonna be annoying and be like, oh, freshmen, like they're excited. I miss being a freshman and having that outlook. And I know that there was one person one year for me that was like, oh, freshmen, they ride their bikes. Ride your bike. I still ride my bike. Who wants to walk if you have a bike? Like, some people might say, stupid things like that sometimes, but mostly you're probably not going to hear anything about being a freshman.
So my next question that I have for you all is, did you think about how college would change you, or did you think that you would stay the same? And we're going to start with Taylor on this one.
Yeah, that was something that I really thought about, because I always heard about like people going off to college and they come back with totally different views on things and just completely different. And I kind of expected it to happen to me because I kind of like my hometown. A lot of the people think the same way. And even in high school, that already didn't correlate with my line of thinking. So I figured once I got out of college, met a lot of new people, and saw different perspectives on things. Like, I definitely expected to change after that. And after being in college for 2 years now, it's definitely changed a lot more than I thought it was going to. But that is something that I was prepared for coming in. And I think being prepared kind of helped me to change too, because had an open mind about just hearing all sides of things and deciding for myself what I really liked, instead of just inheriting my families or my peers from high school. They're just inheriting their ideas on things. I got to think for myself.
Go ahead, Kaylee.
Yeah, so I definitely knew that I was going to change. It's just an experience. It's such a crazy experience going out away from home and being by yourself and meeting all of these people who think all of these different things. It's like almost inevitable that somehow in some way you're going to change. And personally, I mean, now going on to my senior year, I have completely changed. There are people that I haven't talked to since high school, and I see them now and they're like, you're not even like the same person. But it's because I finally just formed into who I am myself, and matured a lot, and it's definitely a life-changing experience, but it's a good life-changing experience. So
What about you, Zaylin?
So yeah, I definitely thought that college would change me. I just wasn't sure how. I knew maybe, okay, I'll be more educated, but like how else will I be, like how will I change, like personality, like good example. Before coming to college, and even like when I first got here, I was very, very introverted. And even now to an extent I am, but like I was so to myself that I wasn't, like I would not reach out. I wouldn't be the first person to talk. Basically, it was always someone like engage in conversation with me. But now I noticed that like it's so easy for me to start a conversation. Like some people used to have told me like wow, like used to be so quiet and like now you can't shut up. So it's kind of just like you can change in so many different ways, partially because you, like I said, like Taylor and some of the others in this panel, I come from a very small town too, where thinking is kind of like traditional values are very similar. The diversity isn't that, like it's not that much diverse, but on a college campus, you just meet people with different backgrounds, different values, and just there's just so much to learn, and you kind of just that can kind of influence your perspectives in a sense, however much, and not so much in a bad way. I mean, like it's all about what it goes back to, like your values, like what your values are, like what do you care about, what like how do you feel personally in that situation, not what someone else is telling you to feel so much. But yeah, I would say I definitely thought it would change me, and it has, and honestly for the better, because like that's why I'm able to be here today and speak to you guys. So
Now, Zaylin, you brought up values. What would you say your values were before coming to college?
Before coming to college, I would say that my values were so much more goal oriented, and they still are, but they were so goal oriented to a point where like I didn't really care about like not I don't want to say care, but I just didn't put as much focus as I felt like I should have in terms of building relationships with people. Before it's just kind of like I kept myself once eventually like it's all about just getting stuff done, fun, whatever, who cares about that. But now I kind of see it's kind of good to give yourself some grace and not be so hard on yourself, because you will make mistakes in life. Like that's just how it goes. So I kind of had like this perfectionist mentality, I want to say, before, but now I've kind of just let some of that go, because like I understand that I am human, I will make mistakes. So that's one value. Like putting more focus basically on friends, like building genuine relationships with people. Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. And then just making sure that I'm putting myself, like immersing myself in things that I genuinely I want to be in, and for the right reasons, not because I feel like I have to, more so. So I would say that's a value that I gained more so, put more focus on just myself and like how I connect with others.
Taylor, what would you say your values were before coming to college?
So like Zaylen, I was really goal oriented. I knew what I wanted to come and do and make sure I had a good GPA and the resume looked good and everything. But I was also really interested in like building relationships because I was meeting all new people. But one thing that's changed about these values are also making sure like I better myself while I was making relationships with other people. I wasn't really growing in some of the ways I felt like I needed to, and I was just kind of ignoring a lot of my own things. So now I found like a good balance with all that and get stuff with school done. I've met a lot of new great people, a lot of new friends, and just always trying to get better now.
Yanni, what were your values before coming to college?
My values were eyes on the prize, and like Zaylen said, trying to be perfect, but in a sense where I did know that I was going to make mistakes, but I wanted to limit that as much as I can. But like, getting to college, I realized you can study for like 5-8 hours or something and you can still bomb that test. Like, it happens. Like, do not stress about that. It's just one test, because I remember that happened and I was crying. I was a mess. I was like, I studied so hard. I don't understand. This wasn't my fault. It was the teacher's fault. It was the test fault. And I was just like, you know what? Get yourself together. You can do this. Like, you'll get through this. It's just one test. So it's just knowing that even though if I put in my all in it, sometimes I might not get the results I wanted, but that's just something that you need to take with grace and learn from. And also with like, eyes on the prize, I was like, I just need to focus. This is my path. Like, I don't care about anything that's going out here. Like, I'll still hang out with my friends, but when it's work time, it's work time. And then I just realized, I'm like, I gotta chill. Like, this is college, it's freshman year. And like, you want to have some experiences, you want to have fun. Like, you'll have time, like you'll have enough time, like, because your schedule gives you enough time to like work and stuff. So you have to balance work life and personal life, which is something that like I've learned while being in college.
So it sounds like accountability, giving yourself some grace, but also remaining focused has been really important to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Kaylee, what were your values before coming to college?
Yeah, so much like they said, I definitely valued being very hardworking and kind of only keeping my eyes on getting into college, because in high school I was, when I wasn't doing homework, I was, working at my job and working so much because I was like, oh no, I need to save money for college, and like, who cares about anybody else? And in a sense, yes, I was thinking about myself, but not in all of the ways I needed to. Like, I wasn't considering that I needed, like more human interaction that wasn't involved with school and working. And, I valued my motivation as well because I had a lot of motivation. But once I got to college, I realized I had to be more open-minded, and I had to stop beating myself up over the smaller things because it was very stressful for me at first. I just was so scared to take all my first tests and to do everything because I just didn't want to mess it up, because I know that, when I got to high school and I started high school, I didn't take it as seriously. So I really had to work really, really hard to bring my GPA up. So when I got to college, I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I was not really focusing on what I needed outside of school. So like my freshman year, I did not do anything. I didn't have a job. I didn't really get involved. And I just focused on, school, which was cool and all, but I really, really regret not getting involved the first year, not having a job, not doing what I needed to do to make myself happy, because that really messed up building relationships. And I felt kind of behind once I got to my sophomore year, because I was like, oh man, like I should have really involved myself more and not have worried so much about just my grades. So now I definitely try to like I said, be true to myself, try to do things that make me happy, like being in the a cappella group, even though I sometimes I think I don't have enough time for things, but then I make it happen because I'm like, I need to be happy, and so that's just what I need to do. I mean, so yeah.
Most, if not all of you, mentioned building relationships and how much you valued being able to do that. Can Taylor, can you walk us through maybe your experience of building relationships on campus?
Yeah, at first it can be kind of difficult. Well, like at first, especially if you're living in a dorm, you're gonna know all the people on your floor and all the people in your dorm, and you're gonna build relationships there. But it's not gonna be like your best friends after the first day. It's gonna take some time, but after a couple weeks, everybody kind of finds their group, I guess. So that's kind of important to find yours there. But I think another like the best way really is to get involved in like clubs or other organizations that have your interest, because if other people are there, that means they have at least one similar interest to you, but usually more. And um, I think just being yourself and talking to people, like that's one thing that was kind of like nerve wracking for me at first, just like just talking to people, starting up conversations that I had with people I'd never met before, complete strangers. But like 99% of the people on UNCW's campus are so nice and just willing to talk to you. So it can be kind of scary at first, but if you talk to somebody, they're not going to ignore you. They'll talk back, and it's a really easy way to make a lot of friends and meet people. And but I think getting involved is really the way I built most of my relationships, just being around people a lot with similar interests as me.
Yanni, can you tell us how you went about building relationships? I think you mentioned that as well.
I think how I went about is like my first relationships, like I said, were the people in my dorm room. My suite mates are my best friends. And it's just like, I feel like that's the best way to start, especially for like incoming freshmen or first year students, having them there. It's like you have that one common thing, like y'all are gonna be living with each other, so you might as well like, learn how to get along. So that's what I did. And with their help, like we were able, because we have most of our classes together. So I had them, but then it also gave me more confidence to talk to other people and to like expand my friend group. And just like, if I can have two good friends, like I can make more friends. So it was stuff like that. And like Taylor was saying, joining clubs, like I'm an orientation leader, and a lot of the people in there I love. Like I literally see them being my best friends. Like we're really close. So it's things like that, like, just putting yourself out there and just like, being yourself.
Before I move to Kaylee and ask her how she went about building relationships on UNCW's campus, I want to remind all of our viewers to send us your questions through the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So Kaylee, tell us about how you went about building relationships on campus.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll have an unfortunate experience of not having roommates that you are very good friends with, which unfortunately I went through. Not most people, honestly, most people end up with roommates that they're best friends for life and they're really good friends. Unfortunately, the same just did not happen for me, which was okay. That was fine. We had different interests. We just didn't get along that way. We were able to be civil, but so the way I went about making relationships was making sure when I was in my classes to always know somebody first, so that I could have someone to study with, that I could have someone to talk to about the class, but also to try and build relationships and find friends, because the more that you kind of go out of your comfort zone a little bit and talk to people in class, that's how you can also start getting involved, because maybe they're in a club that you didn't even know existed and you're like, oh, that sounds really cool, like maybe I'll try that, which is actually how I started the Seal Acapellas. I met someone in class and they were friends with someone who was in the group, and so that's how I joined, and it changed my life. I love it so much. So going about building relationships, I just had to go out of my way to talk to people, and it definitely worked out in my favor. So
did any of the people that you met kind of help you through your audition process or anything like that?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I knew the person that was in the audition room, so that probably helped. But it was definitely more comforting for me when I was in the audition room, because I kind of knew her, so it made me a little more comfortable. But I didn't know anybody else in the group, so it was really cool being able to meet all of those people, and now they're like my best friends.
So your experience with that a cappella group has been really positive.
It's been extremely positive, and I wish that I had joined earlier, because I didn't join until the beginning of my junior year. So I wish that I had joined the second I got into college, because it has been such an amazing experience for me.
So I want to move on to another question that we got in. Was there a specific person or experience that helped you grow in college? Let's start off with Yanni.
For sure. The person who helped me was my RA because I went through a situation with my roommate who had to leave for personal reasons, but it was just a very emotional roller coaster for the both of us. So I was just like, I don't know who I should talk to. Like, I didn't feel comfortable talking to my suite mates about it because, like, what happened was happening to her yet, but I was just like a, witness. So I was kind of like, who should I tell? And then I was like, oh, my RA. So then I go into my RA's room, and then she's the sweetest thing ever. She sat down with me for 2 hours and let me just let it all out. Like, I was just like, this is what happened. I didn't know what to do. Did I do the right thing? And then she was just there comforting me and letting me know that, like, I did the best I could. And it was just like, I needed to hear that at that moment. And just seeing how she comforted me, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be an RA. And then she was like, knowing that if I could be like her and help someone how she helped me, then my life will be complete. And then also she's an OL as well. So she inspired me to be an OL. So I was like, I'm an OL and an RA. So I can help people 2 times. So yeah.
Yanni said her life is complete. All right. Taylor, was there a specific person or experience that helped you grow once you got to UNCW?
Not really a specific person or experience. It was kind of just a lot of different people and a lot of different experiences in little ways. It was just kind of a combination of everything. I just try to take something away from every person I met and every new thing I tried, and take the good things from it and implement that in my life, and learn from the bad things about it and just try to fix it for the next time. And I think overall, just trying to be in the moment with everything that happened, not even just my first year, but the year after and this coming year too. I'm going to do the same thing. It's just like it's a never ending experience. So.
All right, Zaylin. Is there any specific experience or person that helped you grow so far in college?
Yes, I would say there's been a many. They're a combination of both, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my RA was one of the first people as a leader on campus, in terms of leaders on campus, that I connected with. And so they're honestly how I even got involved. My dorm council, RHA, Residence Hall Association, because, they talked to me about it. And I knew I wanted to be involved in some form of fashion, and kind of take like a leadership role. I had the opportunity to do that. And so they were able to connect me with that. And then being involved in Residence Hall Association, I learned about other opportunities on campus, such as being an orientation leader, different clubs, it's those relationships build, like those two experiences, namely for sure, like Residence Hall Association orientation leader, kind of helped me grow because, like I said, I was able to kind of develop leadership skill, as well as like just grow, be able to meet different types of people and work with different types of people. And so that's also one of the reasons why, like, building relationships for me is like a big thing, because like you just never know who you can learn from. Like there's so many different people on this campus. So yeah, orientation leader, my RA, Residence Hall Association, those are the experiences and the people that kind of have helped me grow through my experience in college.
Kaylee, was there any person or experience that helped you grow in college?
So kind of like what they were saying, I don't think there was one specific person or experience. It's just as I met people, like my boyfriend, he helped encourage me get into other organizations and clubs. And then, I met friends that encouraged me to go into those clubs. And then once I was in those clubs, I had friends in those clubs that helped me go outside of my comfort zone even more and do other things. So it's like every time I met someone or did something, I work on campus. So that's actually something that helped me. That was the start of getting into different organizations and clubs, because once I was working on campus, I just was like, okay, like I can handle this, because at first I thought I wasn't going to have time for anything at all, because I was like, how is that even possible with all these classes and all this work? But the more I got into, the more I wanted to get into more, and now I'm in like all these different things. So they all definitely changed my experience in each individual's own way.
I want to ask you all this question because you are all involved in different clubs and organizations. So about how many clubs does an average student participate in while still being able to maintain their focus on their classes? And you can give your approximation in reference to like your own life. So how many organizations can you get involved in and still be able to maintain your focus?
I can hop in on that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think it depends. It depends on a lot of things. One, it depends, if you have to work. I have 2 jobs, so having 2 jobs affects me to be able to join more. So personally, I do, I'm doing like a dual master's bachelor's right now, and I have 2 jobs, and I'm in the Seahawk Capellas, and I'm in the Seahawk Links, and as well, I'm a leader in the Seahawk Links. That for me it's a lot, like that takes up basically all of my time. But I mean, even if I wanted to, I could probably add another one. It honestly depends on how comfortable you are with your schoolwork. It depends on what your major is and, the difficulty of it, because, that will depend on how much studying you have to do and how much schoolwork you're actually going to have. So there's a lot of different factors. But I know a lot of people, like I know someone personally that was in like 5 different organizations, had like 2 jobs, was doing 2 different degrees at the same time. So honestly, it's all about what you can handle. And that's why kind of getting into the swing of things, maybe first semester is good to see, okay, what am I able to handle? And like gradually adding more will basically show you.
All right, Taylor, you want to answer that question for us?
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to throw out an approximation, I'd say maybe like between 2 to 4, but it really, like Haley said, depends on who you are. Like, if you're the type of person where you don't have to study that much and you just kind of get things, obviously that leaves you a lot more free time to do stuff. If you're the type of person you need to be in the library like 10 hours a week, then that makes it harder. And it also depends on the club. Like, do they meet bi-weekly, or is it like the links where you have to go to 1 class a week and a mandatory meeting, like minimum? So you got to take stuff like that into account. And then also, if you become a leader in it, it's going to take more time and the off-campus stuff you're in. So like, I'm a leader in the Links organization and AMSA, and I'm also in the chemistry club and occasionally volunteer at this medical center off campus. And I mean, it can be a lot, and depending on the classes I'm taking that semester, I might have to pull back from some of it a little bit, might not go to as many chem club meetings or volunteer as much at St. Mary's, but it really just does depend on who you are. Some people work better if they're just busy all the time. That's how they like their lifestyle to be. It keeps them organized and focused, but really finding that time management is what's going to be the biggest to know how much you can handle. But just be careful about that your first year, jumping into a lot of different organizations and stuff, because you are ultimately paying a lot of money for the education. So you want to make sure your grades stay up there and you don't overcommit yourself.
I want to make sure that we have time to answer our last few questions. So I'm going to skip to the next one. Zaylin, how do you handle the pressure to go out and party, even if it's not your thing?
Me personally, I kind of just, how I do that, I think I'm like, how do I feel today? Like, do I feel like sitting in my bed, just doing nothing, watching TV, going through TikTok, or do I feel like actually going out and being super social? So in situations in terms of handling that pressure, I just will first ask myself, what do I feel like doing? And if I go out, maybe do I need that because I haven't been out? I need some social interaction. I kind of just don't and I thank goodness I don't have friends that are like constantly like go out with us, like demanding that I go out and making me feel bad for not wanting to. Like, the friends that I have, they're very supportive, and they're very like open-minded. They're kind of just like, if you don't feel like coming with us, like it's not a big deal. But that's kind of just how I handle the pressure. I just really ask, like, what is it that I want? And two, like, what are we going to be doing? Because, if there's a situation that I just don't feel comfortable in, I don't think it is wise of me, like, to kind of just put myself in there. It was something, like I said, I don't feel comfortable with, because usually your gut feeling, like, there's a reason why you get that. So it probably means you should stay away from whatever it is that you don't feel comfortable with. But like I said, it's really just like a type of risk analysis too. You just gotta just do a reflection and ask yourself, like, what do you really want? Because, like, take care of yourself, have friends, but, like, make sure that you're not sacrificing your own self for others.
Yanni, how do you handle that?
I always tell myself there'll be other parties. Like, if people are badgering you to go to one, like, all the time, like, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to go. It only depends on how you feel, because I know that I'll have friends who are like, let's go. And I'm just like, no, I'd rather just stay home and, like, eat spaghetti and watch Big Time Rush. Like, I'm good. And, like, that's my idea of having fun. Like, I love just sitting and just, like, making fun of TV shows or whatever. Not that I'm making fun of Big Time Rush. That show's iconic. But, it's just like, if I don't feel like partying, I don't have to go. And like Zaylin was saying, if I get that gut feeling like, I don't know, like something in the universe doesn't feel right, then I'm not going to go. And, the whole point of college is just like doing what's good for yourself. So if you feel like you don't want to go party right now, don't go party. So, yeah.
And then I think this might be our last question that we have. What else is there to do on the weekends in Wilmington? Zaylin, I feel like you have an answer to this one.
I do. So as mentioned before earlier in the video, I am an event coordinator for UNC Weekends. And so what that organization is about, we do a lot of weekend programming. Some of our events are off campus, like we'll have paintball, bowling, which, things may look a little different this year because, new policy changes due to COVID-19. But we definitely will still ensure that there are events or things for people to do who, like on the weekends, for people who just maybe they just don't feel like going out, And the events are made pretty, like, very affordable. Sometimes they're even free. So it's like, because, going out, you can easily spend a lot of money. And, as college students, you kind of don't need to, you kind of don't watch that money, So yeah, there's definitely, and not even just UNC Weekends, there's so many other organizations that have weekend things, like I said, and all that may look a little bit different, but like our campus is very committed to making sure, I think, that we are still able to have that college experience and take joy in things, extracurriculars and events that they are able to provide for us. But yeah, definitely. So if you don't feel like going out, UNC, like I said, 9 times out of 10, there's a UNC Weekends event. Just go to Wavelink and be like, see what's going on. Chances are we have something. Yeah, definitely plenty of opportunities.
Well, that is all of the questions that we have prepared and that our viewers have written in for today. Thank you all for joining us for this transition talk, to our panel for sharing your thoughts, and to our viewers for sharing your questions. This session has been recorded and it'll be uploaded to our Facebook and our YouTube accounts if you want to go back and watch it again later. We hope that you'll join us next week for our next episode of this series, where we'll have another panel of students joining us to discuss managing independence in college. I also want to remind you to visit our social media accounts and follow Transition Programs on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.